One's Opinion. Today I am reviewing the national tour of Ain't Too Proud, the life and times of the Temptations, currently touring around the eastern half of the United States. Directed by Des McAnuff with a book by Dominique Morisseau, Ain't Too Proud is a musical featuring the music of Motown, obviously focusing primarily on the music of the quintet vocal group The Temptations. The musical is based off of the book The Temptations by group founder and only surviving original member Otis Williams with Patricia Romanowski. The story is pretty much a Cliff Notes retelling of the classic five members of The Temptations: Otis Williams, played by Michael Andreas; Paul Williams, played by E. Clayton Cornelius; Melvin Franklin, played by Harold Holmes Jr., Eddie Kendricks, played by Jalen Harris, and David Ruffin, played by Elijah Ahmad Lewis, with quick scenes interspersed with classic songs like My Girl, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and Papa Was a Rollin' Stone. These are some of the greatest songs ever recorded. Personally, the album All Directions, which coincidentally came out after three of the classic five had left the group, is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the greatest R&B albums of all time. It starts with Otis moving to Detroit as a kid, the trouble he got into early on, and how he started to meet all the various members along the way. We see various acts that Otis had created before the original five members, with Al Bryant, played by Devin Price, as lead before he is replaced by David Ruffin. We then take a quick trip through history, watching the group struggle to be accepted as a legitimate act, struggle with addictions, egos, and trying to maintain relationships outside of the group. As much as I love The Temptations, Ain't Too Proud suffers from what most biographical jukebox musicals suffer from, and that is that the story just flies through history, barely getting to spend any time to focus on the drama that is happening. I would dare somebody to write a jukebox musical that focuses specifically on a short period of time and use the music of that act's entire catalog. That would be more interesting to me. What works for the book of the show, though, is Dominique Morisseau's ability to keep the essential overall conflicts and themes forward in the story. So though we don't get much time with each conflict, the echoes of each conflict resonate in future scenes. Another issue is that Otis Williams is one of the executive producers of Ain't Too Proud, and it is obvious that though he is an absentee father, he never looks too negatively in the show, and that he is the person who is kind of the core protagonist of the musical. Now, it's not as bad as Berry Gordy's musical Motown, which makes an effort to make Gordy look like God's greatest gift to music. But Otis Williams does make it look like he was always being the moral center of the Temptations. It makes the musical feel self-serving when, during the entire show, he's making claims that it's not about him, it's about the group. There's a hypocrisy in that. We spend a lot of time on David's drug and ego problems and Otis's conflicts with Eddie. But when we focus on Otis's problems, we focus primarily on his first marriage with Josephine, played by Kiana Onrail Holmes, and his son Lamont, played by Philander. That marriage was very early on in the Temptations story. What we don't go into is Otis's relationship with Patti LaBelle, where he tried to convince her to quit her career to become a housewife, or his second or third marriages. All that's omitted. Where Ain't Too Proud excels, though, is in its musical performances and Sergio Trujillo's choreography. We get those classic R&B moves that the Temptations are known for, especially for Elijah Ahmad Lewis playing David Ruffin, who twists, splits, and twirls like a tornado across the stage. The quintet all sings beautifully, though I do feel that a couple of them were starting to suffer from the tour as their voices are getting a little tired, especially Jalen Harris as the first tenor, Eddie Kendricks. It's nothing a couple days of vocal rest won't cure, though his performance on lead vocals for Just My Imagination Running Away With Me came out beautifully. The design for Ain't Too Proud is a bit hit and miss, though I think Howell Binkley's lighting design is really good. Peter Nigrini's projection design is a bit too much. I like the marquee work, but there's a lot of projections of cities the groups tour to with the names of the cities scrolling across the upstage drop, and they are very distracting. I found myself looking at the names and listening to the music and not paying attention to the performances. Regardless of my critiques of Ain't Too Proud, I readily admit that if you are a fan of The Temptations, you're probably going to love this show. Most of it is due to the performances of a great cast recreating some of the greatest songs of the last 60-plus years. If you're a fan of The Temptations, this will be a fulfilling show to watch. If you're a casual follower of their music, you might enjoy it. But if you have no idea who the Temptations are or don't know much beyond a couple of songs, you might not find much to gain from the show. But I am only one man's opinion, so leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations, I'll leave a link in the description where you can see the show's touring calendar and order tickets. You can support my channel by becoming a patron over my Patreon page. Any little bit keeps things going. You can also support my channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review would be Hartford Stage's production of Trouble in Mind. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.